The Galactic Council chamber was silent, floating above a dead star. Hundreds of species watched light shields display the same image again and again. A small blue planet. Earth. To the Council, it was nothing special. One more young world. One more loud, divided species arguing with itself while the galaxy moved on. Humans had been studied, classified, and quietly ignored. Low threat. Limited reach. No unified command. That was the final assessment. So when Earth refused to sign the Council's protection accord, no one expected resistance. The decision was quick. A corrective strike. Not a war. Just enough force to remind the humans of their place. The fleet arrived without warning. From orbit, the first shots fell like artificial meteors. Cities vanished in white fire. Oceans boiled near the impact zones. Human defense systems fired back in panic, outdated and useless. Satellites were erased before they could scream. On the Council screens, Earth burned. Some delegates looked away. Others watched with mild interest, already moving on to other matters. This was how the galaxy stayed orderly. Young species learned. Or they ended. Then something unexpected happened. Earth went quiet. Not the slow silence of surrender. Not the broken silence of extinction. All signals stopped at once. No distress calls. No emergency broadcasts. No angry human speeches. Even civilian noise vanished. The planet did not cry. It simply disappeared. Deep space sensors confirmed it. Earth was still there. The planet still turned. Its star still burned. But the human world had gone dark in a way the galaxy had never seen. A minor Council analyst spoke, voice uneasy. Total signal loss is abnormal. An elder delegate dismissed it. Their networks are destroyed. Nothing more. But minutes passed. Then hours. Still nothing. No escape ships. No refugee transmissions. No orbital debris drifting outward. No chaos. Just silence. And silence, in a violent galaxy, was never normal. Then a warning symbol flashed red across every screen. Long-range detection. From the Sol system. A single object had launched. No energy burst. No standard jump signature. It did not match any known drive. The object moved wrong, sliding between sensor frames like it did not fully exist in normal space. The Council chamber stirred. Identify the craft, a delegate ordered. The system returned nothing. No transponder. No communication. No known material composition. Just mass. Direction. Speed. And it was accelerating. Someone laughed nervously. A desperate weapon. A dying species throwing a final stone. But the laughter faded as calculations appeared. The object was not heading toward the attacking fleet. It was heading deeper. Toward core trade lanes. Toward protected systems. Toward places humans should not even know existed. A cold realization spread across the chamber. This was not a scream of rage. It was a choice. Earth had been struck without warning. And instead of begging, instead of collapsing, instead of answering with noise, humanity had gone silent. And in that silence, it had aimed. The Galactic Council, for the first time in centuries, began to understand a terrifying possibility. They had attacked a world they did not understand. And whatever Earth had just launched was only the beginning. The Galactic Council argued. That alone was unusual. For centuries, decisions had been clean, cold, and fast. Young species were corrected. Threats were erased. The system worked because fear worked. But now the chamber buzzed with overlapping voices, uneasy glances, and data streams that refused to settle into clear answers. The object from Sol was still moving. It did not slow. It did not adjust course. It did not respond to any attempt at contact. Long-range weapons could not lock onto it properly, as if space itself bent slightly around its path. Some delegates demanded immediate interception. Others urged patience. A few, older than most civilizations, said nothing at all and watched the data with growing concern. Because something about this felt familiar. Far away, on Earth, the silence was not emptiness. It was discipline. Deep beneath shattered cities and radioactive skies, lights burned on for the first time in decades. Hidden facilities, denied, ridiculed, and officially defunded, came alive. Old access codes still worked. Old machines still waited. Humanity had always planned for the worst. Not because it believed the galaxy was cruel, but because humans had learned cruelty from themselves. When the first orbital strikes fell, emergency protocols triggered automatically. Not government orders. Not speeches. Systems built to function even if no leaders remained. And many leaders did not. Yet the machines did not ask who was in charge. They only asked one question. Is the species still alive? The answer was yes. So the next phase began. Across continents, sealed vaults opened. Not with fanfare, not with alarms, but with quiet efficiency. Inside were weapons that did not look impressive. No glowing alien alloys. No elegant curves. Just human engineering. Heavy, ugly, reliable. Engineers who had never met each other before were suddenly working from identical instructions, pulled from isolated servers that had never touched an external network. Scientists who had argued for years stopped debating and followed the same plan. Humanity did not unite through hope. It united through memory. Every war, every genocide, every extinction humans had studied in their own history was suddenly relevant. The lesson was simple and burned deep into their collective instinct. If someone strikes first, they will strike again. So Earth did not prepare to defend itself. Earth prepared to end the threat. Above the planet, something even stranger was happening. Debris from destroyed satellites began to shift. Broken fragments changed course, slowly gathering into patterns that made no sense to alien observers. To humans, they were obvious. Raw material. Factories unfolded in orbit, silent, modular, assembled from pieces that had been waiting for decades. They did not broadcast construction signatures. They did not use standard power emissions. They were designed to be invisible. The Council's sensors, tuned to detect alien technology, kept missing them. Humanity had built its systems based on human limitations, not galactic expectations. On Earth's surface, the cost was already unbearable. Entire regions were dead. The sky was scarred. Billions were gone. But the survivors did not waste time counting the dead. They had already done that in simulations. In one underground chamber, a group of human officers watched the same feed the Council was watching, delayed, fragmented, stolen through backdoor observation systems planted years ago. The alien chambers. The alien fear. One officer spoke quietly. They're confused. Another nodded. They thought we'd panic. A third, older than the rest, stared at the image of the object racing through space. They forgot something. What? Someone asked. That we've always known we were weak, the officer said. That's why we planned. The object moving through space was not a ship. It carried no crew. No AI that could be interrogated. It was a delivery system for something much worse. Not a bomb. A message written in physics. As it crossed into its first protected zone, alien defense platforms activated. Energy lances fired, precise and overwhelming. They passed through empty space. The object was no longer where it should have been. It reappeared seconds later, inside the defensive perimeter, shedding layers that unfolded into smaller units. Each one adjusted its trajectory independently, reacting faster than any known combat AI. Alien systems struggled to track them. Targeting computers lagged. Predictive models failed. Then the units detonated. Not with explosions. With absence. Entire sections of space went dark, as if mass and energy had been erased for a heartbeat of time. Ships caught in the effect did not burn or break. They simply stopped existing. The effect lasted less than a second. But it was enough. When the darkness faded, fleets were gone. Trade lanes collapsed. Shockwaves rippled through local space-time, disrupting navigation for light years. And still, no human message followed. The Council chamber fell into real silence now. This was not brute force. This was understanding. Back on Earth, more launches followed. Not hundreds. Not thousands. Just enough. Each one different. Each one unpredictable. Humans were not trying to overwhelm the galaxy. They were trying to confuse it. To force hesitation. To buy time. And time was the most valuable resource Earth had left. In a sealed facility far below ground, a final project came online. It was older than most of the people working on it. Designed when humanity still believed it might be alone in the universe. It had been considered too extreme. Too immoral. Too final. Now no one argued. The lead scientist looked at the activation screen and felt no triumph. Only wait. This was never meant to be used, she said. A technician answered, voice steady. Neither was extinction. She activated the system. Far away, deep within the galactic network, alien data archives began to unlock. Human code slipped through security like water through cracks. Not stealing information. Mapping it. Cataloging weaknesses. Learning. The Galactic Council finally reached consensus on one thing. Earth was not acting like a cornered animal. Earth was acting like a strategist. And that meant the first strike had not broken humanity. It had revealed it. As alarms echoed across multiple systems and reports of vanished fleets piled up, one elder delegate spoke at last, voice low and heavy. "We did not awaken a threat," the elder said. "We awakened a survivor species." The chamber screens flickered. New launches detected. Different vectors. Different targets. The galaxy began to understand a terrifying truth. Humanity was still unprepared, and it was already winning. Panic did not spread across the galaxy all at once. It crept. At first, reports were dismissed as sensor errors. Trade guilds blamed navigation failures. Military commanders blamed inexperienced crews. The galaxy had lived too long under the same rules, and when those rules broke, no one wanted to admit it. But patterns do not lie. Across dozens of systems, the same impossible events occurred. Fleets vanished without debris. Fortresses went silent mid-transmission. Defensive arrays reported successful interception, followed immediately by nothing at all. No wreckage. No radiation spikes. No survivors. Only empty space where power and pride had once existed. The Galactic Council demanded answers. Analysts worked without rest, feeding human attack data into every predictive model the galaxy possessed. None of them worked. Human weapons did not behave like weapons. They did not overwhelm shields. They did not overpower armor. They bypassed them, as if the defenses were irrelevant details rather than obstacles. This confused the galaxy more than fear ever could, because galactic warfare was built on escalation. Bigger fleets, stronger shields, faster reactions. Humans had chosen something else. Precision. On a fortified world near the galactic core, an alien admiral watched her command center dissolve into chaos. Status boards flickered from green to red faster than officers could speak. A human object had entered the system 3 minutes earlier. Only one. The admiral ordered full-spectrum scans, immediate weapons fire, and emergency jumps. Every response was perfect by galactic standards. None of it mattered. The human device did not attack the planet. It attacked the idea of control. Communication relays failed first, then navigation grids, then the quantum timing systems that kept faster than light travel stable. Ships trying to flee slammed into each other as reference points vanished. The admiral realized the truth too late. Humans were not fighting fleets. They were collapsing systems. When the human device finally activated its core function, it did not explode. It resonated. A low, impossible frequency rippled outward, interacting with infrastructure the galaxy depended on but never questioned. Power plants overloaded and cascading failure. Defense platforms shut down to protect themselves and never came back online. Within minutes, one of the most secure systems in the galaxy was helpless. The human device self-terminated shortly after. There was no victory broadcast, no follow-up strike, just silence. And that silence was worse than destruction. Because now the galaxy knew. Humans could reach anywhere, disrupt anything, and vanish without explanation. The council chamber filled with fear that no one dared name. "This is inefficient warfare," one delegate protested. "They are wasting resources." An elder responded calmly. "No, they are conserving them." That was when the realization began to spread. Humanity was not fighting a war of conquest. It was fighting a war of education. Each strike taught the galaxy something new, something painful, about its own weaknesses. And humans were learning too, adapting faster with every engagement. On Earth, the cost continued to rise. Food shortages spread. Atmospheres remained poisoned. Entire ecosystems were dead. Children were born under artificial skies, never seeing the stars without filters. And yet, production increased. Humanity did not replace what it lost. It repurposed it. Ruined cities became manufacturing zones. Craters became launch sites. Cultural differences that once divided nations became irrelevant under a single, shared understanding. Survival came first. A human general watched casualty reports scroll past her screen. She did not flinch. She had already grieved. "You don't mourn during the fire," she said quietly. "You mourn after." An aide asked, "Will there be an after?" The general looked at the projection of the galaxy, now filled with human markers. "Only if we finish this fast." Another human object reached its destination. This time, The target was not military. It was political. The strike arrived near a neutral system, home to observers, historians, and information brokers. A place believed untouchable, protected by reputation rather than weapons. The human device transmitted a signal for the first time. Not a threat, a question. The message translated automatically across hundreds of languages. Who authorized the strike on Earth? The system panicked. Officials denied involvement. Records were sealed. Responsibility was redirected, buried beneath layers of procedure and ancient law. The human device waited. Then it activated. Data vaults cracked open across the system. Not destroyed, opened. Every secret agreement, every hidden vote, every quiet approval surfaced and spread across the galaxy in seconds. The truth burned brighter than any explosion. Earth had not been attacked by accident. It had been attacked by consensus. The Galactic Council's authority shattered in that moment. Member worlds erupted in outrage. Allies turned on each other. Old grudges resurfaced with new fury. Humanity had fired no shot. And yet, the galaxy began to tear itself apart. On the council floor, shouting replaced order. Delegates accused one another openly now. Security forces were deployed, not against humans, but against other council members. An elder rose slowly, voice cutting through the chaos. This is not random, the elder said. They are isolating us, breaking trust, removing unity. A younger delegate snapped. Then strike back harder. With what? The elder asked. Weapons they already understand better than we do? Silence followed. Because deep down, they all knew the answer. Humanity had studied the galaxy for too long. Long before first contact. Long before submission demands. Long before war. They had listened. They had watched. They had prepared for the day when someone would decide Earth was expendable. That day had come. And humanity had responded not with rage, but with clarity. In a final escalation, a human strike reached the edge of council-controlled space. This one was different. Larger. Slower. Impossible to ignore. It broadcast continuously as it traveled. A simple human symbol. A clock. Time counted down. The galaxy froze. Every fleet tracked it. Every weapon locked on. Every civilization waited for impact. The clock reached 0. Nothing happened. Then the message changed. This was a test. The clock vanished. No explosion followed. But something else did. Across the galaxy, human-controlled observation platforms activated. Hundreds of them. Revealing themselves for the first time. They had been hidden in debris fields, asteroid belts, dead zones. Human eyes everywhere. Human reach everywhere. The Council finally understood the scale of the mistake. Earth had not been unprepared. Earth had been patient. And now that patience was gone. As reports flooded in and the galaxy trembled on the edge of collapse, one final realization settled over every world, every species, every leader. Humanity was not fighting to survive anymore. Humanity was deciding what the galaxy would become next. And whatever came after this moment would be shaped by a species the galaxy once called insignificant. The message did not arrive with fanfare. There was no warning pulse, no dramatic surge of energy, no signature that could be intercepted or blocked. It simply appeared, simultaneously, inside every major communication network across known space. Military channels, civilian feeds, government archives, even isolated systems that had not connected to the galactic net in centuries. One moment, the galaxy was arguing, panicking, mobilizing. The next, it was listening. The message did not use council protocols. It did not request translation priority. It did not identify itself as a formal declaration. It assumed attention. The visual feed was simple. No banners, no flags, no symbols of dominance. Just a human woman, standing in a dim room. The background was rough metal and exposed cables. The lighting was uneven. She looked tired, older than her recorded age. Her eyes carried weight that no translation system needed to explain. When she spoke, her voice was calm. Not angry, not proud, controlled. This message is from Earth. Across the galaxy, billions froze. This is not a declaration of war. The woman continued. You already made that choice. Council chambers erupted in shouts, but the message overrode all local controls. No one could mute it. No one could interrupt it. You classified humanity as weak, she said. You believed we were divided, emotional, inefficient. You believed we would break. Images began to appear beside her. Human cities before the strike. After. Children under rubble. Hospitals burning. The images were not graphic, but they were honest. You were correct about one thing, she said. We were unprepared. The word echoed. Preparedness was sacred in galactic doctrine. Every major power planned centuries ahead. That a species could admit unpreparedness and still fight back felt wrong. The woman did not raise her voice. We did not know when you would come, she said. We did not know who would decide. We did not know what rules you followed. Her gaze hardened slightly. So we built systems that did not depend on rules. The images changed. Not to weapons, but to infrastructure. Hidden factories. Autonomous logistics chains. Old human research projects labeled impractical, too extreme, ethically questionable. You attacked our planet without warning, she continued. You killed billions. You expected fear. There was a pause. A deliberate one. We chose memory. Across alien worlds, historians and analysts began to understand. Humanity's response was not shaped by the strike itself, but by everything that had come before it. Every extinction humanity had studied. Every empire that had fallen. Every moment when weakness had been punished. We remember what happens to species that beg, the woman said. We remember what happens to species that trust mercy. More images appeared. Not human this time. Ancient alien civilizations, long extinct. Archival footage pulled from sealed records. Proof of quiet exterminations hidden behind bureaucratic language. Gasps echoed across countless chambers. The council had erased these histories. Humanity had uncovered them. You believed silence meant defeat, the woman said. For humans, silence means focus. Somewhere deep in council space, a general whispered, "This is psychological warfare." An elder answered, "No, this is explanation." The woman took a breath. "What you are seeing now is not our full strength," she said. "It is what we built while dying." That sentence landed harder than any strike. "Every system we used was designed under constraint," she continued. "Limited time, limited resources, limited lives." The feed shifted again. Human engineers working in radiation suits. Launch crews knowing they would not return. Volunteers signing final acknowledgments without ceremony. "We accepted losses you would not," the woman said. "Not because we value life less, but because we know what extinction costs." On dozens of worlds, alien military planners felt something unfamiliar tighten in their chests. Fear, not of destruction, but of resolve. "We are not here to conquer," the woman said. "We are here to stop this." She gestured, and the galactic map appeared. Red zones marked council-authorized strike paths. Blue markers showed human intercepts. Yellow lines represented potential escalation routes. "You built a system where power decides worth," she said. "Where fear maintains order." Her eyes met the camera directly. "That system ends now." The council tried again to cut the feed. It failed. "You have 3 options," the woman said. "Listen carefully." The first option appeared as text across the map. Option 1, escalate. Humanity would respond proportionally, by its own definition. Council military infrastructure would continue to fail. Political systems would fracture. Trade would collapse. "Your galaxy will survive," she said, "but it will not be stable." The second option appeared. Option 2, withdraw. Immediate cessation of hostile action against Earth. Recognition of human sovereignty. Open investigation into council strike authority. "This option minimizes loss," she said, "but it requires accountability." Many council members shifted uncomfortably. Then the third option appeared. Option 3, ignore this message. The map changed. New markers appeared, thousands of them. Human platforms. Sleeper systems. Observation nodes embedded across the galaxy. "We placed these long before today," the woman said. "Not to threaten, to understand." Her voice lowered slightly. "They are already active." The implication was clear. Humanity did not need permission anymore. "We will not issue another warning," she said. "We will not negotiate under fire." She straightened. "You attacked us while we were unprepared." A final pause. "Do not make the mistake of seeing what we look like when we are ready." The feed ended. No dramatic cutoff. No static. Just silence. Across the galaxy, no one spoke for a long time. Then reports began flooding in. Council-aligned fleets halted mid-mobilization. Border worlds declared neutrality. Several member species formally withdrew from council authority within hours. The power structure that had dominated the galaxy for millennia began to crack. On Earth, the woman stepped away from the camera. Her hands trembled now that it was over. An aide approached. "Do you think they'll listen?" She looked at the damaged world beyond the reinforced walls. "They don't have to," she said. "They just have to hesitate." Elsewhere, in the deepest council chamber, the eldest delegate closed its eyes. "We misjudged them," it said softly. "They are not reacting." Another delegate asked, "Then what are they doing?" The elder opened its eyes. "They are setting terms." Outside council space, human systems adjusted trajectories. New projects came online. Contingency plans layered over contingency plans. Humanity had spoken once, and the galaxy now understood the most dangerous truth of all. The species it tried to erase was no longer asking to survive. It was deciding how much of the old galaxy deserved to. The galaxy slowed. That was the first sign something had changed. Trade lanes emptied. Fleets held position instead of advancing. Messages were drafted, erased, rewritten, then never sent. For the first time in recorded history, the Galactic Council did not know what to do next. Humanity's message had not threatened annihilation. It had threatened exposure. And exposure terrified empires more than weapons ever could. But while the galaxy hesitated, Earth bled. The silence that humans projected outward did not mean peace at home. The planet was still broken. Atmospheres remained poisoned in entire regions. Oceans carried scars that would last centuries. Entire cities were nothing but names and databases now. Every human knew someone who was gone. Most knew many. In underground shelters, people worked through exhaustion that bordered on madness. There were no victory celebrations. No speeches about destiny. Just quiet movement, clipped orders, and eyes that no longer expected rest. Humanity's greatest weapon was not technology. It was acceptance. Acceptance that this would hurt. Acceptance that it would not be fair. Acceptance that survival did not guarantee comfort. In one buried command center, a group of analysts reviewed live data from across the galaxy. Human platforms continued to report, feed by feed, mapping reactions in real time. "They're pulling back," one analyst said. "But not standing down." A commander nodded. "They're waiting for us to blink." "We won't," another replied flatly. The commander didn't answer right away. She was watching a different screen, casualty projections. Not estimates. Confirmations. Entire launch crews gone. Research stations intentionally overloaded to delay alien tracking. Engineers who stayed behind to keep systems running just long enough for others to escape. No one called them martyrs. They were listed as necessary. This was the part the galaxy could not see. Humanity's counterstrike had been brilliant, precise, terrifying, but it had not been clean. Many of the systems humans activated were unfinished. Dangerous. Known to shorten lives or guarantee death. Humans had used them anyway, because the alternative was extinction. In one such facility, far beneath what used to be a coastal city, a reactor crew prepared for final activation. The system would power a long-range deployment node, one of the last needed to complete Earth's containment net around council space. The engineers knew the truth. Once activated, the radiation surge would make evacuation impossible. A young technician hesitated at the door. "No one will blame you," the lead engineer said quietly. "We can find someone else." The technician shook his head. "No, I just wanted to remember what the sky looked like." The engineer nodded. "Me too." They sealed the chamber. The system activated. And somewhere far away, another human marker lit up on the galactic map. Across council space, intelligence agencies began to notice something disturbing. Human activity was slowing. Not retreating. Completing. Launch frequencies dropped. New platforms stopped appearing. Cyber incursions stabilized into steady observation rather than expansion. It looked like an ending that frightened the council more than escalation ever had. An emergency session was called, this time behind sealed layers of security. No observers. No historians. Just power. "They are consolidating," a military advisor said. "They're locking in positions." A political delegate snapped, "Or they're exhausted." An elder spoke, voice calm and old. "No, they are paying something." The room stilled. "Species that fight like humans do not slow because they are tired," the elder continued. "They slow because they have reached the edge of what they can afford." Silence followed. "What edge?" someone asked. The elder looked at the projection of Earth, still burning in places, still wounded. "The edge where survival costs more lives than surrender," it said. Fear shifted in the room, changing shape. If humanity had reached that edge and still refused to surrender, then there was nothing the galaxy could threaten them with anymore. On Earth, the human leadership faced a truth they had delayed as long as possible. They were running out of people. Not soldiers. People. The industrial push had consumed entire generations in weeks. Medical systems were stretched beyond design limits. Some regions were operating with survival projections measured in months, not years. A council of human leaders convened. Not politicians, not generals, but representatives of essential systems. Agriculture, medicine, infrastructure, education. The question was simple. How much further do we go? There was no argument. Only calculation. If humanity pushed one more escalation, council power would fracture completely. The old galactic order would fall apart. But Earth might not survive long enough to see what came after. If humanity stopped now, Earth could stabilize, recover, heal. But the galaxy would remember fear, and fear always returned as violence. A quiet voice spoke. A woman who had lost 3 children in the initial strike. If we stop, she said, they will wait. And then they will try again. On our children. Or someone else's. No one contradicted her. Humanity had never been good at trusting systems built by others. That had saved them. The decision was made. One final phase. Not an attack. A revelation. Across the galaxy, human observation platforms shifted behavior. They stopped hiding. Signals became visible. Clearly artificial, clearly human. At the same time, millions of data packets were released. Historical records. Council votes. Suppressed extinction reports. Proof of punishment strikes hidden behind neutral language. The galaxy reeled. Civilian populations learned the truth of how order had been maintained. Species once loyal to the council realized they had been spared not by law, but by usefulness. Protests erupted on dozens of worlds. Council-aligned governments collapsed within days. The council tried to respond with force, but fleets refused orders. Soldiers refused commands. Because humanity had done something the galaxy had not seen in millennia. It had turned power into a moral question. On Earth, the final human deployment came online. It was not a weapon. It was a system-wide lock. A network that could, if activated fully, shut down faster than light travel across a massive region of space. Trade would stop. Militaries would freeze. Empires would starve. It would end the old galaxy. But it would also trap Earth, isolated, vulnerable, alone. The human leaders stared at the activation key. This ends everything, someone said. The commander replied, or it ends this. They did not activate it. Not yet. Instead, they sent one final internal message, never broadcast, never shared. To every human system. Every surviving city. Every shelter. We have done enough to be heard. We will not do enough to become monsters. The galaxy felt the shift. Human systems powered down to standby. Observation continued, but strikes ceased. The council, broken and exposed, struggled to respond. An elder delegate finally spoke to the empty chamber. They showed us their strength, it said. Then they showed us their restraint. Another delegate whispered, why stop now? The elder's voice was heavy. Because they have paid more than we ever would. Far from council space, on a damaged Earth orbiting a quiet star, humanity began the slow work of survival. No celebrations. No relief. Only the understanding that they had crossed a line and chosen not to erase what lay beyond it. The galaxy had underestimated human power, but now it began to understand something far more dangerous. Humanity knew exactly how far it could go, and it had chosen, deliberately, to stop one step before the end. The Galactic Council believed it still had one advantage left. Time. Humanity had paused. No new strikes. No system collapses. No sudden revelations. The observation platforms remained, watching silently, but the weapons were quiet. To the Council, this looked like exhaustion, like restraint forced by weakness. They were wrong about why humanity had stopped, but that misunderstanding would cost the galaxy dearly. Within the deepest layers of Council territory, beyond public chambers and ceremonial halls, a smaller meeting took place. No recordings, no observers, no formal titles spoken aloud. Only those who still believed in control. We cannot allow this precedent, one figure said, its voice distorted by a privacy field. If humanity survives this with authority intact, the council becomes optional. Another replied, They have already broken us politically. Then we end them strategically. The plan was old, ancient, even by galactic standards. A contingency reserved for species deemed structurally incompatible with long-term order. Total erasure. Not a fleet attack. Not a visible invasion. A system kill. The Council still possessed weapons humanity had not yet seen. Not because humans were incapable of understanding them, but because they were forbidden, sealed away after past disasters. Weapons designed to destabilize stars. Quietly, slowly, irreversibly. If Sol's star died, Earth would follow. No battle, no counterstrike, just an unfortunate cosmic event. The galaxy would mourn briefly, then move on. Orders were issued under layers of authority so deep that even many council members would never know. Autonomous constructs, ancient, patient, began moving through subspace towards Sol. No warning, no signal. Perfect. Except for one thing. Humanity had expected betrayal. Not because humans were paranoid, but because history had taught them something the galaxy refused to learn. Power never forgives embarrassment. On Earth, a human observation node registered the anomaly almost immediately. A subtle gravitational irregularity. Barely noticeable. Easy to dismiss. The system flagged it anyway. Because humans did not dismiss anomalies. Within minutes, data flowed through Earth's remaining networks. Not alarms, questions. Why now? Why this vector? Why hidden? The answer formed quickly. They're going for the star, an astrophysicist said softly. The room went still. That crossed the last line. Until now, humanity had held back its most extreme responses. They had exposed lies, broken systems, forced hesitation. This was different. This was extinction. The human leadership reconvened. The same group that had debated whether to go further now faced a simpler question. Do they survive? There was no debate this time. The commander spoke first. If we let this happen, there is no recovery. A scientist nodded. No future. No rebuilding. Someone asked the question no one wanted to voice. What does stopping it cost? The answer was already on the screen. Everything. The system humanity had refused to activate, the one designed to lock down faster than light travel, was not just a barrier. It was a weapon. If fully deployed, it would collapse subspace lanes across a massive region, trapping fleets mid-jump, tearing apart ships reliant on unstable physics, and isolating entire sectors for decades. It would cripple the galaxy. It would save Earth. And it would kill millions who had nothing to do with the Council's decision. Silence filled the chamber. Then a quiet voice spoke. The same woman who had addressed the galaxy before. They chose this, she said. Not us. The activation sequence began. Across human-controlled space, dormant systems woke. Deep field generators aligned. Observation platforms shifted into formation, not as eyes, but as anchors. The galaxy felt it before it understood it. Faster than light, travel stuttered. Then failed. Ships vanished mid-transit. Others reappeared broken, scattered across real space. Trade lanes collapsed instantly. Military formations dissolved into chaos. Panic spread faster than any message could. In council space, alarms screamed as ancient constructs lost navigation and tore themselves apart under conflicting physics. The Starkill devices never reached Sol. They never reached anything. The subspace around them folded, twisted, and snapped back like a broken spring. They ceased to exist. The Council's final weapon died without ceremony. And with it, the last illusion of control. On Earth, the sky burned brighter for a moment as gravitational feedback rippled through the system. The planet shook. Infrastructure failed in dozens of regions. Millions lost power. But the star still burned. Earth still lived. Across the galaxy, the consequences were immediate and brutal. Empires dependent on constant trade began to starve within days. Border wars erupted as isolated fleets fought over dwindling resources. Entire species found themselves cut off from allies, medicine, or evacuation routes. Humanity had not targeted them, but humanity had reshaped the battlefield. The Council attempted to broadcast an emergency address. It never reached most worlds. What it spread was something else. Understanding. Humanity had not overpowered the galaxy. It had removed the rules the galaxy relied on. And now everyone was vulnerable. On a Council-aligned core world, civilians watched the stars and realized no ships were coming. No aid. No authority. Just distance. Fear turned inward. Revolutions ignited. The council chambers were abandoned within hours. Delegates fled, or were seized by their own populations. The structure that had ruled the galaxy for ages collapsed not with fire, but with silence. Humanity did not celebrate. On Earth, emergency crews struggled to stabilize systems damaged by the activation. The planet was exhausted. Its people were exhausted. The lock could not stay active forever. It was burning out components faster than they could be replaced. Human leaders knew this. They had bought time. Nothing more. A message was prepared, not broadcast everywhere, only to worlds capable of receiving it. It was short. The Council chose extinction. We chose interruption. This lock will end. What you build after is up to you. Some worlds responded with anger, others with gratitude, many with fear. But one response came from an unexpected place. A coalition of mid-tier species, those once labeled expendable, sent a single transmission. Teach us. On Earth, the commander read the message twice. They want guidance, an aide said. Alliance. Structure. The commander shook her head slowly. No, she said. They want permission to change. The lock began to weaken. Subspace lanes flickered back online, unstable but usable. The galaxy breathed again, scarred, shaken, altered. Humanity did not pursue fleeing council remnants. It did not claim territory. It did not demand tribute. It did one final thing. It shut down the weapons. The galaxy watched, confused and wary, as human systems powered down, one by one. Observation platforms dimmed. Control fields dissolved. Humanity stepped back, not because it was weak, but because it had made its point. On a damaged Earth, beneath a scarred sky, humans began the long work of rebuilding. Knowing the galaxy was watching now, truly watching, for the first time. Far away, on a ruined council world, an elder sat alone, staring at the stars. We thought they were reckless, it whispered, but they understood restraint better than we ever did. The elder closed its eyes. We tried to erase them, it said, and instead, they erased our certainty. The galaxy would never return to what it had been. Not after a species, once forgotten, had proven something terrifying and profound. Humanity did not need to rule the stars. It only needed to remind them that extinction was not a game they could afford to play. The galaxy did not heal. It adapted. In the weeks after the subspace lock collapsed, faster-than-light travel returned unevenly. Some routes reopened quickly. Others remained unstable, fractured by lingering distortions. Old trade maps became useless. Familiar borders blurred. For the first time in galactic history, no central authority dictated what came next. The Galactic Council was gone. Not defeated in battle. Not overthrown in a single moment. It had simply dissolved. Delegates were arrested by their own people. Some vanished. Others fled to forgotten systems, stripped of titles that no longer meant anything. The galaxy felt hollow without it, and afraid of what might fill the space. Many expected humanity to step forward, to claim leadership, to impose new laws, to become the very thing the Council had been, just stronger, angrier, and born of fire. Humanity did none of that. Earth stayed quiet. No grand announcements followed the lock's release. No fleets moved to stabilize regions. No human representatives arrived to offer protection in exchange for loyalty. The observation platforms remained, but they no longer hid, and they no longer interfered. They watched. That choice unsettled the galaxy more than domination ever could. On dozens of worlds, emergency assemblies formed. Species that had once relied on council enforcement now faced old enemies without a referee. Some turned inward, building defenses. Others reached outward, searching for allies. Again and again, the same question arose. What does humanity want? The answer was unclear, even to humans. On Earth, leadership fractured back into specialized roles. The crisis phase was over. Now came survival, recovery, and something far more difficult. Meaning. Humanity had proven it could fight the galaxy. But what did it stand for? A summit was held, not broadcast, not ceremonial. Representatives from Earth's remaining major population centers gathered in a reinforced facility overlooking a ruined coastline. The sea was slowly reclaiming land poisoned by orbital strikes. Waves broke against twisted metal and broken towers. A reminder. We can't pretend this didn't change us, a medical director said. We lost too much. A logistics coordinator replied, and we learned too much. They reviewed reports from across the galaxy, worlds descending into chaos, others experimenting with new forms of governance, small coalitions forming where old rivalries once stood. One report stood out. A cluster of species, mid-tier, resource-poor, historically exploited, had formed a mutual defense and trade pact. No central ruler, no punishment clauses, decisions made by consensus. They called it the Open Accord. It won't last, someone said. Neither did the council, another answered. The room fell quiet. Humanity had shattered a system but offered no replacement. That vacuum was dangerous, but also full of possibility. A young advisor spoke hesitantly. They're copying us. Eyes turned. Not our weapons, she clarified. Our behavior. Silence. Observation. Restraint. That realization spread uneasily. Humanity had become an example, not a ruler. And examples were harder to control than empires. Beyond Earth, the galaxy tested boundaries. A former council enforcer world attempted to reclaim authority over nearby systems. It mobilized fleets, confident humanity would not intervene. Human platforms observed. They did nothing. The war began and ended quickly. Not because humanity intervened, but because the enforcer world's former subjects had learned something crucial. The enforcer was not invincible. It never had been. Without council backing, its power collapsed under coordinated resistance. News spread fast. Other would-be tyrants reconsidered, not because humans would stop them, but because the illusion of inevitability was gone. On Earth, rebuilding accelerated. Not just cities, but culture. Education systems shifted. History curricula expanded to include not just human mistakes, but galactic ones. Children learned why silence could be power, why restraint mattered, why survival did not require domination. But they also learned something darker. That humanity had come within a single decision of ending the galaxy as it was. That knowledge did not fade. It settled deep. In the months that followed, alien envoys began to arrive. Not fleets, not conquerors, delegations. They came cautiously, orbiting at safe distances, broadcasting requests instead of demands. Some asked for technology, others for protection. Many simply asked questions. Why did you stop? Why did you not take control? Why did you let the lock end? Humanity answered selectively, sometimes with words, often with silence. A turning point came when a small alien delegation requested asylum on Earth. Their home system had collapsed after losing council support. Civil war had followed. They had nowhere else to go. The decision weighed heavily. Taking them in meant involvement, responsibility, risk. Turning them away meant proving the galaxy right. That power always turned inward when the threat passed. Humanity accepted them, quietly. No announcement followed. But the galaxy noticed. Slowly, cautiously, other species followed the example. Not seeking protection, but cooperation. Shared research. Mutual defense pacts. Cultural exchanges. None of them placed humanity at the center. And humanity did not ask to be. Years passed. The galaxy stabilized, not into a single order, but many smaller ones. Regional alliances rose and fell. Some failed. Some endured. Conflict did not vanish. But extermination strikes became rare. Too rare. Because every species remembered Earth. Remembered how quickly the rules could break. Remembered what happened when a minor world refused to die quietly. On a distant world, a child asked their teacher why humans were feared. The teacher corrected them. They are not feared, the teacher said. They are considered. On Earth, memorials were built, not to victories, but to losses. Names carved into stone. Not ranked. Not categorized. Just remembered. Humanity did not forget what it had paid. That memory shaped every decision afterward. A final report reached Earth from a deep space probe, one of the last remnants of Council-era monitoring. It confirmed what many suspected. Several ancient species had quietly adjusted their doctrines. First strike policies were rewritten. Extinction-level weapons were sealed away. Not because of treaties. Because of fear. Not of humanity's weapons, but of humanity's response. In a quiet moment, the woman who had spoken to the galaxy years earlier stood beneath an open sky, one of the few regions where Earth's atmosphere had fully recovered. Stars shone clearly now. An aide asked her, "Do you think they'll ever forgive us?" She considered the question. "We didn't ask for forgiveness," she said. "We asked for space to live. And if they try again?" She looked at the stars, countless and cold. "Then they'll remember. she said. Just like we do. The galaxy moved forward, not united, not peaceful, but awake. Humanity faded from the center of attention, exactly as it intended. But its shadow remained. A reminder written not in law, not in fleets, not in monuments, but in hesitation. In every leader who paused before ordering a strike. In every general who asked one more question. In every civilization that looked at a smaller, weaker neighbor and chose not to test them. Humanity had not become the galaxy's ruler. It had become its cautionary tale. And for the first time in a very long history of stars and silence. That was enough. History did not record the war as a war. That was the first lie humanity noticed. Across newly rebuilt galactic archives, the conflict was labeled the sole disruption. In some regions, it was softened further, the human incident. In others, it was quietly minimized into footnotes about infrastructure failure and political realignment. The galaxy was trying to forget, not because it did not remember what happened, but because remembering forced an uncomfortable truth. The old order had not fallen to a greater empire. It had fallen to a species that was supposed to break. Humanity understood this instinct well. Humans had rewritten their own histories many times, sanding down horrors into manageable lessons. But this time, they did not interfere. Let the galaxy forget, they decided. Fear remembered longer than stories. On Earth, decades passed. The scars never vanished completely. Some regions remained uninhabitable. Some species that sought refuge never returned home, choosing instead to build new lives alongside humans. Languages mixed. Cultures merged unevenly, sometimes painfully. Humanity did not become pure. It became layered. Children grew up knowing the sky could burn, that stars were not just distant lights, but places where decisions were made, decisions that could end worlds. They were taught science and history together, not to inspire conquest, to prevent carelessness. Beyond Earth, the galaxy continued its slow evolution. No single authority replaced the council. Instead, clusters of influence formed and dissolved like weather systems. Some regions prospered, others collapsed. But one pattern repeated everywhere. No one launched first strikes anymore. The weapons still existed. The technology had not vanished, but the will to use it had changed. Because every strategist, every leader, every war planner carried the same silent calculation. What if they respond like humans did? Humanity had introduced a new constant into galactic thinking. Not power, uncertainty. And uncertainty made reckless dominance impossible. There were, of course, those who tested the boundary. A rising militarist state, generations after the war, attempted to assert control over a chain of undeveloped systems. They assumed humanity was too distant, too fractured, too tired to care. Humanity did not intervene. Neither did anyone else. Instead, something unexpected happened. The threatened systems coordinated, shared information, used defensive doctrines learned indirectly from human behavior, not copied technology, but copied patience. The aggressor stalled. Resources drained. Internal dissent grew. Within 5 years, the expansion collapsed under its own weight. Observers noted the pattern. Humanity did not need to act anymore. Its past actions were enough. On Earth, a new generation reached adulthood, one that had never heard orbital alarms or lived under radiation shelters. To them, the war was history. Dangerous history, but still history. That worried the elders. Memory faded faster than scars. So humanity did something unusual. It archived everything. Not filtered, not edited. Raw data, casualty reports, recorded debates, failed plans, moments of fear, moments of doubt, even the near decision to end faster than light travel forever. Nothing was hidden. These archives were not broadcast. They were not forced on anyone. But they were open. Any species could request access. Some did. Most did not. Those who did never asked the same questions afterward. One such visitor was a scholar from a distant system, born long after the Council's fall. She spent years studying the human archives, piecing together the truth behind the myths. When she finally met a human historian, she asked the question that haunted her research. "Why didn't you finish it?" she asked. "You could have ruled everything." The historian was old, his hands unsteady. "We never wanted to rule," he said. "But you had the chance." He nodded. "That's why we didn't." She frowned. "That makes no sense." The historian smiled sadly. "It makes perfect sense if you know what it costs." He showed her a list, not of victories, of names. The number was incomprehensible. This, he said, was the price of being heard. The scholar was silent for a long time. Far from Earth, in a system once central to council power, a monument drifted in orbit. It was not built by humans. It was built by former council species. The monument was simple, a dark metal ring, unadorned. No symbols of empire. No flags. Just an inscription, translated into hundreds of languages. Here lies the certainty that power goes unchallenged. Visitors came quietly. No one stayed long. In time, humanity's role shifted again. Not as warriors, not as enforcers, but as a reference point. When disputes escalated too far, mediators would ask a single question. Is this worth becoming another Earth? The question ended many arguments. Not all, but enough. Humanity never claimed moral superiority. Humans knew better than anyone how fragile restraint was, how easily fear could turn into justification. That knowledge kept them cautious, sometimes too cautious. There were moments when humanity hesitated to act, afraid of becoming what it had once opposed. Critics arose, arguing that humanity hid behind restraint to avoid responsibility. Some of those critics were right, but humanity accepted that risk. Better inaction than extinction. One quiet night, the woman who had once spoken for Earth, now old, her hair white, stood again beneath the stars. An alien child walked beside her, one of the descendants of the first asylum seekers. "Did you save the galaxy?" the child asked. The woman thought carefully. "No," she said. "We scared it." The child considered that. "Isn't that bad?" "Sometimes," the woman replied. "But sometimes fear is the space between destruction and choice." The child looked up at the stars. "Will there be another war like that?" The woman did not answer right away. "Probably," she said finally. "Someday." The child's voice trembled. "What happens then?" The woman placed a hand on the child's shoulder. "Then whoever is forgotten," she said, "will decide whether the galaxy survives." That was the final lesson humanity left behind. Not a warning carved into law, not a threat backed by fleets, but a truth written into the behavior of stars and civilizations. Never assume the quiet species is weak. Never assume patience means surrender. Never assume survival instincts are simple. Humanity had been underestimated once. The galaxy paid the price. And long after the weapons powered down, long after the council faded into myth, long